Hey there, nerd fighters. It's Your Name here, and I have a confession. I'm a little obsessed with Ronald Reagan. Because let's be real, the 1980s were a wild ride and Reagan was at the wheel. So today we're taking a deep dive into the Teflon president's most controversial moves, ranking them from, interesting to hold up, what just happened? Buckle up, folks, because we're going back in time to an era of leg warmers, shoulder pads, and some seriously questionable political decisions. Okay, let's start with a classic Cold War conundrum, the Iran-Contra affair. Picture this, it's 1985 and Reagan's administration is facing a dilemma. American hostages are being held in Lebanon by groups linked to Iran and, well, the US doesn't exactly have the best track record with Iran at this point. Meanwhile, the administration is also secretly supporting anti-communist Contras in Nicaragua, despite Congress cutting off funding. In a move that would make even Machiavelli raise an eyebrow, the Reagan administration decides to sell arms to Iran. Yes, the same Iran that's holding American hostages in exchange for help releasing the hostages. The money from the arms sales, it's secretly funneled to the Contras. It was a tangled web of secret deals, covert operations, and plausible deniability. And when the whole thing went public, it rocked the Reagan presidency. Public hearings, congressional investigations, the whole 9 yards, it was a political earthquake. The Iran-Contra affair remains a controversial stain on his legacy, raising questions about presidential power and accountability. All right, folks, let's talk about the war on drugs. Reagan, along with First Lady Nancy Reagan's Just Say No campaign, declared a full-on assault on drugs, particularly crack cocaine, which was ravaging communities across the country. Zero tolerance, increased penalties, mandatory minimum sentences. The Reagan administration pulled out all the stops. The war on drugs led to a massive increase in incarceration rates, particularly among minority communities. And as we've seen in the years since, it didn't really solve the problem of drug abuse. Instead, it created a whole new set of issues related to mass incarceration, racial disparities in the criminal justice system, and the cycle of poverty and addiction. Okay, let's talk about the economy in the Reagan era, because things got interesting. Reagan came in with a bold economic plan, dubbed Reaganomics by both supporters and critics, and it was all about shaking things up. His philosophy: cut taxes, especially for the wealthy, reduce government regulation, and watch the economy boom. The idea was that this would create a trickle-down effect, with wealth eventually reaching everyone. And to be fair, the economy did experience a period of growth under Reagan, and this is a big but, that growth wasn't exactly evenly distributed. While the rich got richer, the gap between the wealthy and the poor grew wider. It's a debate that continues to rage on, and it's one that we need to have, especially as we grapple with economic challenges in our own time. Chapter 4, Star Wars, the strategic defense initiative that divided a nation. In 1983, Reagan announced a bold, some might even say audacious, plan, the Strategic Defense Initiative, or SDI, which quickly earned the nickname Star Wars. Imagine this, a system of space-based lasers and satellites that could shoot down incoming Soviet missiles. Supporters argued that SDI was a necessary deterrent, a way to protect the US from a nuclear attack. Critics, however, called it a costly and unrealistic pipe dream, arguing that it would destabilize the arms race and potentially even make the world a more dangerous place. It contributed to the immense pressure on the Soviet Union, which was already struggling economically, and some argue that it played a role in the eventual collapse of the Soviet Empire. Chapter 5, Showdown with Labor. The air traffic controllers strike. In August 1981, a labor dispute turned into a major showdown between President Reagan and a powerful union, the Professional Air Traffic Controllers Union, or PATCO. Over 11,000 air traffic controllers, frustrated with their working conditions and seeking better pay, went on strike, bringing air travel to a standstill. Reagan, a staunch opponent of unions, took a hard line. He declared the strike illegal, gave the controllers 48 hours to return to work, and when they refused, he fired them all. The firing of the air traffic controllers had a significant impact on labor relations in the United States. It emboldened other companies to take a tougher stance against unions, and it contributed to a decline in union membership that continues to this day. Chapter 6. Invasion of Grenada, a small island, big controversy. In 1983, this tiny island nation in the Caribbean became the scene of a major US military intervention, and it remains one of the most controversial episodes of the Reagan presidency. Grenada had undergone a revolution, and a Marxist government had come to power. Reagan, deeply suspicious of communist influence in the region, saw this as a threat, especially given the island's proximity to the United States. When a power struggle within the Grenadian government led to the execution of the Prime Minister, Reagan ordered a US invasion. The invasion was condemned by many countries, including some US allies, as a violation of international law. The invasion of Grenada remains a controversial chapter in US foreign policy, raising questions about the use of military force and American interventionism. Chapter 7. Social Security Reform, touching the third rail of American politics. Now, Social Security is often called the third rail of American politics. Touch it and you die, politically speaking. But in the early 1980s, facing concerns about the program's long-term solvency, Reagan decided to tackle this notoriously thorny issue. Reagan's goal was to ensure Social Security's long-term sustainability, but his proposed reform sparked a firestorm of controversy. His plan involved a combination of benefit cuts, tax increases, and raising the retirement age. Senior citizens who rely on Social Security for a significant portion of their income were particularly outraged. In the end, Reagan was forced to compromise, and the Social Security reforms that were eventually enacted were less drastic than what he had initially proposed. The episode highlighted the political sensitivity of Social Security and the challenges of reforming a program that is so central to the lives of millions of Americans.